Hi everyone, my name is Grace and I'm a current third year medical student at Emory. Welcome to Emory's virtual Walk with the Doc video. Before the pandemic, our Walk with the Doc group would take a walk twice a month around Grady in Atlanta. But now with social distancing measures and wanting to stay safe, we wanted to record these virtual short talks that would normally occur at the beginning of every walk and continue the discussions around health that we've been having and also continue to engage in our healthy lifestyle choices, such as taking a walk. So with me today is Dr. George, who's an internal medicine doctor with Emory at Grady. Thank you for joining us today, Dr. George.
Thanks for having me, Grace. I think it's great that you're continuing to do these during the pandemic. And just to kind of orient people where we are since we're on a video, this is during the COVID pandemic. And we've seen this virus kind of flare up in the United States, start to look like it was coming down, and now we're on the upswing again. Obviously, in the United States and elsewhere, we've seen huge disparities. So this virus has affected people across the world, but some populations have been hit even harder. And systemic racism in the United States, for instance, has caused a lot of disparities in the African American population, the Latinx population, Native Americans, for many reasons. So that's kind of where we are coming from. And I think it's important to acknowledge right now, as we're talking about exercise, we're talking about ways to socially distance. For some of us, socially distancing is a luxury and a privilege. And for some people, it is a lot harder, and we recognize that.
So yes, like Dr. George mentioned, COVID-19 is disproportionately affecting already marginalized communities. And we at Emory Walk with the Doc want to emphasize that we all play a role in our own safety and also the safety of others, which leads us into today's topic. And today we'll be talking about social distancing. And so Dr. George, could you explain to us a bit about what social distancing actually means and why it's important?
Sure. The social distancing, some people, I think that's the most common term. And so we're going to go ahead and use that term today. A lot of people like physical distancing better because we don't want to socially distance. We really want to be close to each other in spirit. But right now, we do need to be a little bit farther apart to prevent the spread of this infection. So physical distancing or social distancing really means to be at least 6 feet away from people who don't live in your home. And going outside of your home, wearing a mask is really important because it protects droplets. One of the most important things with the mask is that it covers your nose and your mouth. And your mask helps to protect you a little bit, but it really helps to protect others as well. So when you're out in public, you want to keep your distance about 6 feet, so 2 arms length from other people. And you want to make sure that your mouth and your nose are both covered the whole time, and that other people are wearing a mask as well.
Dr. George, could you explain a little bit more about what you mean when masks are protective for others?
Sure. So the masks that we're wearing that are mostly cloth masks out in public, which is what the CDC recommends, are really a barrier. So they're prevention from anything that's leaving your mouth or your nose from getting to other people. So if everybody's wearing this, all of the droplets that come out of our noses and our mouths stay with us. The important things are to really keep it over your nose and to not, people will sneeze sometimes and bring it down. You want to keep it over your nose and mouth the whole time. This helps to prevent any droplets that are coming out. Obviously, when we cough or sneeze, those are the big ones. But even just in talking, singing, yelling, whatever it may be, a lot of these droplets can come out, and those have virus particles in them if we have COVID. And of course, sometimes many people don't know that they have it and may still be transmitting it.
So besides wearing masks, what are some other things that we can incorporate into our daily lives to prevent transmission and also our chances of being infected?
Washing hands. Hand washing is one of the best things. So whatever's on your hands, we touch our face so often. If you didn't think you did before COVID, you probably realize now that you've been told not to, how often and how tempting it is. But when you take anything that's on your hands and put it to your mouth or your eyes, that's how the spread of the virus happens often. So washing your hands is crucial. I I don't feel like wearing gloves is all that helpful necessarily, depending on what you're doing. In the hospital, we wear gloves, do something, and then take the gloves off. But wearing gloves all day or for a long period of time, I think gives people almost a false sense of security. You're not going to get COVID through the skin of your hands, but those gloves can transmit something to your face just like your bare hands can. So I wouldn't worry as much about gloves, but washing your hands regularly is really important. And washing them the right way for 20 seconds at least, front and back and nails and all of those sort of things. And when you use hand sanitizer, using that in the same way as you wash your hands and doing it for an extended period as well is important.
And obviously we want to encourage everyone to continue taking walks during this time. But some people may not feel comfortable taking walks in their neighborhood or may not feel comfortable going to gyms. And so are there any other forms of exercise that we could do at home that would be comparable to walking for a half hour in our neighborhood?
Well, there's a ton of things that you can do in your home, even with very little or no equipment. If you want to mimic walking, I mean, even walking around your house, walking up and down stairs if you can, or walking in place, kind of doing a march. You can watch TV and do a march. I mean, there's a little bit of cardio for you. But there are a ton of different free programs out there. You can look on YouTube. There are free videos from the YMCA. Most of them require very little activity or very little equipment at home. And they have things like chair aerobics, all the way to Zumba classes and weightlifting. So you can really pick what fits best for your activity level, but it's so important to keep moving. Pans, soup pans. That's what I told people to use for weights before. And even just using soup pans, preferably two that weigh the same amount, but you can get a little workout in with that.
Well, thank you, Dr. George, for joining us for this short discussion. For those of you that are watching, if you'd like to get more involved with Emory Walk with the Doc, please go to our website that will be linked in the video below. This topic of how to social distance in our daily lives is such a great topic to discuss with our friends and family members, potentially as you're taking a walk.